Military forces are valuable because they protect the country's citizens and their property. They also provide a sense of safety and security. Military forces are also necessary for a country to be able to defend itself as well as participate in international missions. Militaries are expensive and require many recruits, reserves, and equipment. Hello and welcome to Future Today. With a potential Third World War on the horizon, we examine the world's strongest and largest militaries and compare them to determine which country has the best ground forces. The United States military is the most powerful in the world. The United States military spends the most on its military establishment than any other country. The US has a large military that can be seen in all corners of the globe. Over the years, the United States military has participated in many missions and wars, including World War I and II, the Vietnam War, the Korean War, and the invasion of Afghanistan. The United States military has a high rate of success in its missions and has won many battles against other militaries. The United States has 5,550 nuclear weapons, which are funded from its massive budget of $734.34 billion in 2019. The United States has 1,358,500 personnel with 799,500 reserves available, which ranks them third in the world for military personnel. With tensions on the rise between China, Russia, and America, large and powerful militaries are needed to keep countries safe from invasions, attacks, and to support other countries. With China's large population and rapid growth, they currently rank first in military personnel, with 2,185,000 personnel and 8 million reserves. While this impedes America's military personnel and reserves, China suffers a loss in military expenditures, spending only $252 billion compared to America's $738 billion. With America's large budget, they also outnumber China's land power with 6,612 tanks compared to 5,750 from China. America's tanks have historically been useful in battle, with the M1 and M1A1 leading their tank line, with 4,853 of them currently in service. They also have 1,759 of the larger and newer M1A2 tanks. China has a long list of tanks in service, but their highest number of tanks is their renowned Type 96 tanks, with 2,500 in service. They also have 800 of the old Type 63 tanks, which have been in service since 1963. Their best tank is their Type 99, with 600 Type 99s and 600 Type 99s in service. Compared to the Abrams tank, the Type 99 holds up reasonably well. However, the M1A2 is much more powerful and heavier than the Type 99. Due to it being lighter and not having good armor, the Abrams 120mm DU Sabo rounds would easily penetrate the armor of these Chinese tanks. The United States military ground forces are very large compared to China's. However, China does beat the United States in many areas with ground forces. Comparing armored fighting vehicles, the United States has more than China, with 41,237 compared to 14,130 Chinese armored fighting vehicles. While the United States dominates in armored vehicles and tanks, China has invested heavily in its ground artillery systems, with a total artillery count of 7,094 compared to the United States' 4,243 total artillery. China has 2,720 pieces of self-propelled artillery, the most powerful of which are the PLZs. The United States only has 1,498 self-propelled artillery pieces, with their older M109 taking up all of their self-propelled artillery service. China also has more rocket artillery with 3,140 in service compared to the United States, where they only have 1,366 in service. Overall, China and the United States are both relatively equal in ground force power, with the United States having more armored vehicles and tanks, whereas China dominates in artillery power. However, a well-trained ground force is key to winning battles, and the United States has one of the most experienced ground forces in the world and has been operating tanks and artillery for 75 years in combat situations, whereas China has never had to use its ground forces in combat situations. This would make all the difference in a war if China and the United States were to have one with each other. The United States has had many rivalries with countries, the most notable being Russia. With the recent invasion of Ukraine, Russia has shown itself capable and willing to fight wars. This poses a significant threat to the United States because Russia could repeat what it did 77 years ago with the Soviet Union or the Cold War. Russia leads the world in terms of armed ground forces. Russia has a military budget of $61.7 billion, which is much less than the United States. However, Russia has a powerful armed ground force and personnel. The United States does beat Russia in personnel, but only by a narrow margin, with Russia having 1,154,000 active personnel and 2 million reserves. Russia also dominates tank power, with double the number of active tanks as the United States, with the T-72 being their highest tank in service, with 7,247 currently active, putting them first in the ranks for tank power. While Russia has more tanks, these tanks have been known to be unreliable as many were produced during the Soviet Union. The United States outnumbers Russia in the number of armored fighting vehicles, but Russia has the largest armed ground force, with an astounding total artillery of 18,266 compared to America's 4,243 total artillery. Russia has 6,443 self-propelled artillery and 4,331 rocket artillery, ranking them first in both categories. With an experienced Russian ground force and armed artillery, they thwarted the United States and China's ground forces. Overall, Russia ranks first in ground forces, with the United States following second and China third. China ranks first in personnel, with Russia second due to their reserves, and the United States third. In terms of spending, the United States is first, with China following second and Russia third. With all three countries fairly evenly matched, determining which country has the best military in the world is difficult because we haven't considered other categories such as Air Force, Navy, and nuclear power. Stay tuned for more videos where we analyze the military power of other countries to see which country has the best overall military in the world. Thank you for watching Future Today. Subscribe for more videos on military news, events, and rankings.